As I said earlier, one reason the Morrison government got smashed in the election, women. A lot of women hated the Liberals. You look at the so-called climate independents who stole so many safe Liberal seats, supposedly safe, almost every one of them a woman. In fact, women are growing more and more now likely to vote left. Once, they're just as likely as men to vote Liberal, but 3 years ago, 45% of men voted Liberal, 45, but just 35% women. But when it comes to the Greens, for every 3 men who voted the Greens, there were 5 women. So what's going on? I'm joined by Bettina, author, men's rights activist, and a regular blogger on Substack. Bettina, thank you so much for your time. Can you explain to me why women are voting more and more left-wing, and much more so than men?
Yes, well, women have been, not only in Australia, but many Western countries, becoming more and more left-wing, deserting what was once their predominant conservative stance. And I think if you look carefully, one of the reasons for this, one of the big factors is university education. We have 60% of graduates women. We have a solid number of women who've had a university education. They're most likely to go into the humanities subjects, which, as you know, Andrew, are very much steeped in identity politics and neo-Marxist claptrap, and the ideology is fed very thick to women in their university studies. Interestingly, the Australian election study did some work a few years ago, and they found that women go into university, and as graduates they come up more left-wing. That doesn't affect men in nearly the same degree. Graduate men aren't particularly different from their contemporaries who haven't been to university. So we're getting this process of women being turned left through university education. And then what happens is they make a whole lot of work and lifestyle choices, which absolutely reinforces those left-wing beliefs, as opposed to having their beliefs challenged, which is what happens to many men.
Well, I saw the article where you've written about all this. That drew my attention to it. Epoch Times ran your piece. It's 60% of graduates are now female, 60% versus 40% male. That's amazing. And as you say, most of them a lot of them are gravitated to humanities subjects where you get this capture and this tribal politics, which emphasises, among other things, women as victims, etc., etc. So I wonder, I think you might be onto something, that this politicisation of the humanities is having a direct effect now on people. What sort of issues now do you see this coming through in this bias? Political issues where you get this very strong reaction from women.
Well, the Australian election study also did work on policy positions, and you find, the issues like asylum, about attitudes towards asylum seekers, positive promotion of discrimination in favour of women, same-sex marriage. There are a whole range of policy questions where women are now more likely to vote left, if you like, than men. And they're more likely, if you ask them, are you left-wing? Women put themselves further on the left end of the scale than men do. So they actually see themselves as more left-wing. But as I said, Andrew, what I think is really important is also what they do after they leave uni. And women usually end up in education, health, welfare. They're mainly in public service positions. They're the predominant group in union positions. They're in a whole range of professions and occupations which reinforce their beliefs rather than challenging them. And I think that's really important. The women become left and stay left. And that is really bad news for Conservative parties.
Well, the professions you mentioned as you were going through them, I thought, well, all of them are government funded. So you're looking to government for your money. And all of them are heavily unionised, more so at least than, in the private sector. So that's also got to have an effect too. I mean, Labor gets most of its union support from the sort of unions you've just mentioned in those areas. This is really, but Bettina, some people will be saying, well, look, the bias you're talking about is sort of intrinsic to the nature of women as we imagine it in any case, caring, nurturing, less inclined to be judgmental, all that kind of stuff. Is that true? The bias against the Liberals that you're now seeing in women, has it always been that case, or is this new?
Well, I think it's becoming worse, as the figures show. And as I said, I mean, I think as a result of the combination of these factors, how we are indoctrinating women, if you like, at university, what happens in their working lives, what are they being taught, how are these views being reinforced? And what I don't think is the case is the fact that there's been this big assumption that the government didn't do enough for women. If anything, I think they're pandering to women, put off a lot of their traditional base. Women who want fair treatment for men and women mothers of sons, for instance, women who don't want
Bettina,
women
when you
constantly.
Say that, when you say that, you're talking about the so-called quiet Australians. We don't hear so much from the quiet Australians, and they don't include many female journalists, particularly on the ABC. That's the issue here, I think. I think you're right. There's an indoctrination process going on. Bettina Arndt, great to catch up. Thank you so much for your time.
That's it, folk. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my videos. You can also read my free blogs on Substack. See the link in the details below this video, as well as information about donating to help me cover costs. Please spread the word about my important work advocating for men.